Good morning. I am Gary Rosen, aka Matt's dad. My pronouns are he and him, and you are very welcome here at Unitarian Universalist Church of Palo Alto. And especially since we're in the round, things are arranged a little differently. So don't forget to make room for other people and sort of scooch together where you can. And though masks are not required, but are strongly encouraged, we express our mutual respect by supporting each other's decisions about masking, distancing, and other health measures. If you're here in person and have questions about Unitarian Universalists or this congregation, stop by the welcome table, which may or may not be with a blue tablecloth outside. Is that blue?
You're not imagining it. It's not blue.
And you can leave your contact information if you want to receive notifications of upcoming events. And if this is the week that you want to join the congregation, you can also do that at the welcoming table as well. I direct your attention to the announcements that are printed in the order of service. There are 14 different events happening today and this week, both at church and online. Look over the list. There's probably at least one thing that you might be interested in. Our justice partner for February, as chosen by the congregation at the annual meeting, is Showing Up for Racial Justice, or SURJ. The entire offering collection today will be donated to them. In addition to the service Sunday, you may make a donation in the church office. Please make checks payable to UUCPA and put Justice Partner in the memo line. UUCPA is glad to support such a valuable community organization. And today we have Deborah St. Julien with us to tell us about SURJ and its work. Deborah?
Hi. Thank you. My name is Deb St. Julien, and thank you for inviting me to be a representative for Showing Up for Racial Justice in Santa Clara County. And thank you for your past financial support and people power support. I know Christy Iverson, and I know she's working on some stuff right now with the Rapid Response Network. In the Christian scripture, Jesus says, the truth sets us free, and right now I'd say that feels a little bit hard to come by. So our local SURJ chapter is a multiracial, multi-justice, multi-class group of folks who work to educate and organize white people and people with privilege to face the truth about systemic racism in our immigration system, in our policing systems, in our school systems, in our housing systems, all the things, right? All the things. And when we face those things, we don't stop there. Then we act like the little fish, all working together to organize and pressure the people in power to change systemic racism in our own communities, in our counties, in our cities. Yeah, and it's magic. It's magic when you join with people that are like-minded and do this. So, and so we don't go off in like some white savior, privileged people road. You know, we have an accountability model where we partner with BIPOC-led justice groups. So what does this look like? This looks like going to the Planning Commission at the county, and many of you did this, with the Ama Mutsun tribal band to try to fight against building a gravel pit on their sacred land. This means going to behavior health commissions and public safety commissions in city and counties with race equity, community safety, and Silicon Valley Debug, and partnering with them to pressure to build teams that are non-police response teams to mental health crises. So if you or your kid or your friend calls with a mental health emergency, someone with a gun doesn't show up and shoot them by accident. This looks like training ourselves and also sponsoring trainings, which you are part of, thank you, Christy Iverson and your justice group, to train legal observers to ICE activity in your community. So that's what it looks like. I have tons of information. Supposedly I'm going to have this mystical table somewhere. So I'm going to trust the spirit and come see me. I have tons of information about all our partners and our actions. Thank you.
And I didn't realize about the fish, but very nicely I'm wearing a tie it's sort of an Escher thing, but it's got fish on it too. We gather our different paths entwine to deepen our spiritual lives, nourishing connection, learning from each other, caring for each other, tending to our world. And now let us begin our service. If you have a chalice with you at home, please light it along with me. Keepers of the flame, I did not light this chalice. I only carried a flame I found already burning, a flame already spreading its light like love. Let each of us carry this flame out into the world. Let each of us live to shine the light of love. Let each of us work together to brighten every corner. Let each of us spark the flame of hope in every heart. Let each of us keep the flame alive, pass it forward. With our centering words each week, we draw on many sources of our living tradition. Today's words are from Bishop Ken Unterer. Then Father Ken Unterer wrote these words for a mass in memory of deceased priests. He later called it the Romero Prayer in memory of the assassinated Archbishop of San Salvador, Oscar Romero. This is what we are about. We plant the seeds that one day will grow. We water seeds already planted, knowing that they hold future promise. We lay foundations that will need further development. We provide a yeast that produces far beyond our capabilities. We cannot do everything, and there is a sense of liberation in realizing that. This enables us to do something, and to do it very well. It may be incomplete, but it is a beginning, a step along the way, an opportunity for the Lord's grace to enter and do the rest. We may never see the end results, but that is the difference between the master builder and the worker. We are workers, not master builders, ministers, not messiahs. We are prophets of a future not our own. Okay. Oops.
You want to ring the bell?
Yeah, I had, I had switched somewhere else. But as we follow the sound of the bell into silence,
Yes, we are prophets of a future not our own. Those are words I needed to hear this morning, so thank you. I have a question. What do you call it when the sun starts to set a little bit later? A bright idea. So today we are celebrating a lot of exciting things. We have some interesting stuff going on in RE today because this is an intergenerational service, but we still have some folks who are meeting. So if you are in coming of age, or you are in preschool through first grade, you are invited to go into the lobby after I tell the story and we sing the hymn, and then Mr. Greg, Mr. Jesse, Miss Jen, and some other folks will be out in the lobby waiting for you. So I'm going to share with you some words from the pagan superstar Starhawk about this time of year from the pagan perspective. Right now, we are going into the threshold, the beginning of spring. And this time is a bright time, it's a holy time. It's when the sun is growing stronger and stronger. And we see the days get longer in the Northern Hemisphere. So long ago, the ancient Irish used to call this day Imbolc, which means ewe's milk, because at this time, the baby lambs were born and their mothers began to give them milk. And the Irish also called this time spring's beginning. And it was one of the major festivals of the year when everybody liked to have a good time. And back in those days, they celebrated a goddess called Brigid. And she was a goddess of fire, creativity, fertility. And so they loved her so much they even made little dolls of her, which they would carry through the village to bless the fields for the next year. So this is a time of beginning. We taste the intimate arrival of spring, and we're looking forward to summer. You know, if you have a green thumb, you may be planning your garden. If you have a black thumb like me, you might be planning your vacation. We see people starting to get the idea of, well, okay, what am I going to do this summer? Where am I going to go? I'm going to go to camp. I'm going to go swimming. I'm going to go see those relatives. How can I avoid these relatives? We're all waiting to see what the next year brings. So this time is also a great time for initiation, where we can engage in the mysteries, the beauty of the world as all these things start to blossom and bloom. And we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves. We can use this time to go deep and reflect and to gather those courage, those seeds the energy to do the big things that we have planned ahead. You know, it takes understanding to learn this, that, to do those big things, we have to leap outside our comfort zone. We need to deepen our knowledge and to gain true power and wisdom. So I invite you at this time, when the days are growing longer, to just take a moment and see how your heart is doing. I know, even though that February is one of the coldest months of the year, we still know that spring is coming. Now, today is also another day other than Chalice Sunday. Does anybody know what day it is? What national holy day it is? Groundhog Day! Yeah! So Groundhog Day comes from the idea that groundhogs somehow have prophetic powers. Anyways, it's fun. So did anybody know if the groundhog, Puxtany Hill in Pennsylvania, did he see his shadow? Oh, okay, so we have 6 more weeks of winter. So if you are getting feeling hard, it's 6 more weeks to go, just let you know, we're all in it together. We'll all get through it. So happy Groundhog Day. So, like I said, neighboring faiths will be invited to go out into the lobby after the song, along with preschool through 1st grade. With that, please rise and join us in singing "The Human Touch Can Light the Flame." It's number 307 in the gray hymnal, and the words are also on the order of service and on the screen.
Have a good time. We have Let's take a few moments of silent prayer or meditation to hold all that we've heard, to feel the privilege as well as the pain of holding one another's sufferings, the privileges of carrying each other's joys together, and of knowing that this community is here to support us and celebrate with us. Blessed be. I don't want to lose those. Well, Kat told us some stories about Imbolc and Groundhog Day. I don't think it's a coincidence that those two things come on the same day. I think people all over the world in many, many ways are focused at this time of year on the hope, the people in our hemisphere, of course, are the sense that, okay, spring is coming. Some places it looks really far away, and when they count 6 weeks of winter, they mean a lot of snow and ice. And for some of us, I just saw a flowering cherry on my street beginning to flower. And I thought, oh, spring really is coming, even though it's just the beginning of February. So here's another thing we're celebrating today. I want to send you back in time in your imagination to 1938. Martha Sharp, from her home in the United States, was watching the events in Europe in the fall of 1938. And she was very, very worried. I dare say even possibly overwhelmed. Adolf Hitler was in power in Germany, and in September, European leaders agreed to let Hitler's government take over the Sudetenland, a part of Czechoslovakia that he claimed really belonged to Germany. Czechoslovakia was a country that you might know now as two countries, Czechia and Slovakia. Refugees who were afraid of Hitler headed east to the Czech city of Prague in huge numbers. 2 months later, in Germany, the Nazi leaders urged former soldiers and young Nazis to attack Jews all over the country, and they did. They beat them, they burned their houses, they smashed their shop windows. There was so much broken glass in the streets on that night in November 1938 that the riot was called Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. After that, of course, thousands of German Jews left their homes, so they also became refugees, crossing the border into Czechoslovakia, and many of them looking for safety in Prague. Martha saw all this, and she wanted to do something. She was a social worker, and she was a Unitarian. We weren't Unitarian Universalists yet. We were Unitarians or Universalists mostly. She was a Unitarian, and she had been taught to respond to people in trouble by organizing ways to help them. Her husband, Waitzel Sharp, was a Unitarian minister, and he had been taught the same thing. The American Unitarian Association said they would give them money to go to Europe and help out. So in February of 1939, Waitzel and Martha went to Prague to help refugees get food and medical care. 3 weeks after they arrived, Nazi Germany invaded and took over Prague. And all of a sudden, it was one of the most dangerous places on earth to be. Now they had a very different job: get people out of Prague, out of Czechoslovakia, to countries that weren't under Nazi control, like England and the United States, if possible. The Sharps were constantly followed by Nazi police. Their phones were wiretapped. Their offices were ransacked. They had to use codes when they wrote and read important documents. They had to watch out for the Gestapo, the Nazi political police, who were always patrolling and searching for Jews and other people hated by the Nazi regime, the very people that the Sharps were trying to help. Then the Nazis ordered a stop to all refugee aid and assistance, which meant that Waitzel and Martha were now breaking the law. They didn't stop them. They knew that they were doing the right thing, even though it was now against the law. But, okay, this was 1938 in Nazi-occupied Czechoslovakia. If they got arrested, they probably wouldn't go to jail or be put on trial. They would be sent to concentration camps, and many of the people sent there did not come out alive. So, Martha and Waitzel kept working. They saved many people over the course of 6 months, and then in August, they got a tip that they were going to be arrested the next day. And so they left Prague and sailed back home. Several months later, they were back in Europe. They were the first people hired to work in the Portugal office of a brand new organization, the Unitarian Service Committee, and so they are considered two of the four founders of the USC, which is now the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. The director of the new organization hired a graphic designer, Hans Deutsch, who was a Jewish refugee from Austria himself, to design a logo. The Sharps and everyone at the USC needed official stationery because they created very important documents that could make the difference between someone's getting into a safe country or they're having to stay in a country occupied by the Nazis. Deutsch thought about ancient religious symbols, like the goblet for the communion wine. You know, a goblet is, well, it's like this. It's a cup with a stem and a foot to hold it instead of just a cup with no stem. So he thought about that goblet. He thought about the holy oil that many religions used to give blessings. And he thought about the flame on ancient Greek and Roman altars. He put these ideas together and he designed the logo of a chalice. A chalice that, instead of wine, had a flame emerging from it. And so he passed the flame on. This symbol was on people's travel documents. It was on the business cards of the Sharps and everyone who worked for the USC, so they could show it to people and say, I am part of an official organization. You need to leave me alone. It even appeared in the windows of secret offices, a symbol that the Nazis might think was just a decoration, but that showed refugees that there was someone inside ready to help them. Many years later, when the Holocaust Memorial and Museum in Jerusalem, Yad Vashem, was founded, it honored Waitzel and Martha as two of the righteous among the nations, the name for non-Jewish allies who risked their lives to save Jews and others from the Holocaust. The flame that they kept and passed on to all of us was the flame of justice and compassion and the willingness to take a risk to do what is right. We are lucky if it never happens to us that we need to risk as much as Martha and Waitzel did. But still, we can take courage from people who were so brave. Maybe you also keep their flame of hope or determination or faith, because they had lots of all of those. As for the chalice, after World War II, it began to be used beyond the USC. By the time most of us here became Unitarian Universalists, it had been passed on to the wider religion. And now every UU congregation I know of lights a chalice at the beginning of the service and many other times as well. It is a reminder to us to always shine a beacon to guide people when they are searching, when they're in trouble, when they're sad, when they need a home. That's one of the flames we have been given to keep. To keep it burning and to pass it on to the people who come after us. Now, we've heard from our partner for February, Showing Up for Racial Justice, Surge. You may not know that one of the ways Surge describes its dream is as a just, vibrant future where people of all races work together to win what we need. You can see why we are partners. Our values as Unitarian Universalists are justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, generosity, and of course, love. We can't enact those values in the world alone. And we don't have to. We have partners like Surge to extend our reach, to do the amazing work that they do, to help us do more of that kind of work. And we help them extend their reach by giving our offering today to support their work. You can use a check, as Gary said, make it out to UUCPA and write Justice Partner, so we pass it along. You can use cash. You can use the QR code or text information that's in your order of service, including online. Please give as generously as you can.
And right here is, by all rights, where there should have been a middle hymn. And I know the purpose of a middle hymn. Yes, unmask myself. The purpose of a middle hymn is for little ones to get the wiggles out a bit, but also more importantly, and I appreciate much more these days, is to restore circulation to the lower legs. So if you want to take a chance to sort of stand up and rock and shake, now is a good time to do it, right? Stretch.
Thank you.
That's great. You know, maybe this needs to be a new UU thing, a congregational stretching. If we are to be keepers of the flame, we need to nurture it. Make sure that it keeps burning. Now I'm going to go a little aside and talk about bonsai. We know about bonsai, right? Those little miniature trees that you grow in small containers and carefully shape to fit inside a special place, inside our houses. If we are to pass our flames along, we shouldn't hide our flames under bushels or even in lamps that we keep inside houses or even in churches. No, we need bigger flames, brighter flames we can carry in full sun. Instead of tabletop trees, we need full-size trees we can grow in our yards. The house that we lived in when Matt was growing up had crepe myrtles all along the back fence. Now, this was in Houston, and we were there living near Galveston Bay, or a ways off of Galveston Bay, and now we're in the Bay Area, but you know, you guys have crepe myrtles too. But if you've seen crepe myrtles that are grown in public areas, medians, parking lots, outside office buildings, you really haven't seen crepe myrtles. Public planters want tame crepe myrtles. They send out work crews to give the trees 50s style flat top haircuts and prune everything above a certain height. After years of pruning, public crepe myrtles look like skinny, deranged Joshua trees, but with flowers. We bought that house, that first house, in December. We moved in shortly before Matt's first Christmas. By then, the crepe myrtles were bare. We fell in love with the house after dark. It was the floor plan, not the crepe myrtles, that sealed the deal. But let me tell you, whoever planted and pruned those crepe myrtles had made sure that they were trees. And oh, what trees. They reached above the telephone line and cable lines and arched back over the yard. By summer solstice, the trees were in full bloom. Clusters of blossoms would make the tips of the branches hang low. They would turn the trees into a vault of leaves and flowers that arched like stained glass windows above our head. At our old house, crepe myrtles blooming, blazing watermelon reds. We sheltered once inside the arch of their branches, the shade of their cloister. Achieving that crepe myrtle sanctuary took a lot of work. Bonsai on a grand scale. To keep those trees springing towards the sky, we had to prune the suckers that longed to be bushes, but sap the strength of the trees. We had to cut off the branches that wanted to grow out instead of up. We had to keep reminding the crepe myrtles to soar so they could hang. We thinned some branches to give other branches room to grow, room to blossom, room to light up the vault over our heads. Let us shape our lives like crepe myrtles. Let them leap into the sky like flames, cast a glorious light.
I am that great and fiery force, sparkling in everything that lives, in shining of the river's course, in greening grass that glory gives. I shine in glitter on the seas, in burning sun, in moon and stars, in unseen wind, in verdant trees. I breathe within both near and far, and where I breathe there is no death, and meadows glow with beauty's rife. I am in all the Spirit's breath, the thundered word, for I am life.
The poet and Methodist minister Jan Richardson wrote this blessing with today specifically in mind. In her tradition, this holiday is called Candlemas. There is no telling how it will come, what day it will arrive. A brightness that begins in the bone, a light that constellates in the heart, while our attention is, for a moment, elsewhere. And when it appears, testify. When it shows up, declare. Give witness to the unaccountable grace that enters in the unseen to shine forth from every cell, going out all it meets.
These words are from Mary Oliver, poem called Sunrise. You can die for it, an idea, or the world. People have done so, brilliantly, letting their small bodies be bound to the stake, creating an unforgettable fury of light. But this morning, climbing the familiar hills, in the familiar dawn, in the familiar fabric of dawn, I thought of China and India and Europe, and I thought how the sun blazes for everyone just so joyfully as it rises under the lashes of my own eyes. And I thought, I am so many. What is my name? What is the name of the deep breath I would take over and over for all of us? Call it whatever you want. It is happiness. It is another one of the ways to enter fire.
So, Mary Oliver, she speaks of martyrs who have died for what they hold dear, and Martha and Wait Still Sharp, who were willing to risk it all. There are other ways to keep the flame, and as Oliver says, there are many, many other ways. We don't have to literally step into the fire to have the Spirit enter and to feel it burning. Jan Richardson suggests that one way is to bear witness. Whatever precious things we are taught, whatever brightness we are given, we testify, we share about, we tell people about it so that they might receive the same bright blessing. So, all of us here have been given flames to keep. Maybe your family has a tradition that you love and you want to keep it going and pass it on. Maybe someone said a few wise words to you that encouraged you to be kind, and you want to keep that flame going and keep encouraging folks to be kind. So, before you go up to light your candle, I ask you to hold these questions in your heart. What is a flame that I have been given to keep? What am I doing to keep it burning? And how can I pass it on? And then when you're ready, you can walk up to these tables and light your candle. And eventually, when everyone has come up and lit their candles and placed their little tea lights on the table, we will fill this room with light. And then, when you return to your seat, I invite you to write any of your answers or a shorthand version of that tradition or the answers to those questions on that little sticker that you've been given. It's kind of small, so might need to shorten it a bit. And so you can put it on there for other folks to see, and we invite y'all to use that as a conversation starter. And so with that, anything else? Let us begin.
Well, there's room at the other end of the table. Where are the matches? Filling the room with light, all right.
Would you like one?
Use the same match. Surprise. I think I'm gonna go on this side. It's so awesome.
I'm really looking forward to the conversations we'll be having after the service. Seeing people's stickers on. Will you now join in singing The Fire of Commitment? It's number 1028 in the teal hymnal, and the words are on screen and in your online order of service. Please rise if you like stretching your legs and your lungs as you sing. The 18th century Universalist minister John Murray was said to have taught this: give the people something of your new vision. You may possess a small light, but uncover it. Let it shine. Use it to bring more light and understanding to the hearts and minds of all people. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. Do not push them deeper into their theological despair, but preach the kindness and everlasting love of God. Whatever your vision may be, whatever small light you may have been given to hold, keep it strong, make it stronger, share it, and give all you meet your hope and courage, love and beauty, peace and caring. Blessed be.
May the rose
have our Justice partner has a table now. So if you would like to go visit Surge, they are by the coffee station outside. Whether online or here in the main hall, please stay after the benediction for our conversation time. One way to enter conversation is to find out what someone else wrote on their sticker and ask them about the flame that they carry. Now, if you're online, you can unmute yourself and turn on your videos, and you can touch hands as Amy is demonstrating while we say our benediction together. And if you're in the main hall or on the patio, you can reach out to hold hands if you feel comfortable, or to show that you are connected in spirit, you can place your hands over your heart. All right. Go out into the world in peace. Be of good courage. Hold fast to what is good. Return no one evil for evil. Strengthen the weak-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Rejoice in beauty. Speak love with word and deed. Honor all beings.